Hey guys, Scott here. Welcome to Trilogy Live. So everybody hear me all right? So make sure I have everything turned off. Welcome to episode number 7 of Trilogy Live. A lot of stuff seems like it's going on this week. One of the best things that's happened this week is one second. All right, guys, I forgot to start my audio track for those audio listeners. So Scott here with Trilogy Live, episode number 7. It's been a nice, exciting week. I don't know about where everybody else is from, but for us here in Kansas City, it was a gorgeous 80-degree week. No rain all week. It's crazy. So for those who don't know, I work for the Parks Department, and what I do for the Parks Department is I maintain disc golf courses. I have 2 disc golf courses, and that's ultimately all I do for them is maintain the disc golf courses and occasionally help them with a variety of different things. But in this case, it's just the courses. So all week I got to work on mowing, building some trenches so my mower can get over. On one of the courses that we have in Edgerton, Kansas, I couldn't even get to a couple holes because the water was so high that I couldn't. The culvert, the dip, the hole in the ground was kind of like a V, so it's sitting like this. So if I was to try to go over, I'd just kind of get centered like that. Yeah, that doesn't work too well. So we built a bridge there. Just put some pipe down and rock over the top of it so I could get across that. And that had to have at least been 10 to 12 inches high. I had to mow that twice. But I got that done. I mowed. I got some rocks put out and around. I adjusted a couple pin placements. I put in some trees. Probably one of the most exciting things that happened this week for those of you who ever worked in parks or any kind of landscaping is I got to use a spade machine. And if you've never seen it before, a spade machine is a big truck, and it basically has a I don't know how to say it, a point. The point opens up into 4 pieces, kind of like a claw. It digs into the ground and it goes down probably about a good 3 feet down. You make your hole, you bring it up, you dump the dirt, you find your tree that you're going to put in there. So in this case, because we're at the Parks Department, we're just grabbing random trees that are throughout the property that are kind of off in the backwoods. You take that spade machine and you wrap around the tree. You're digging down to about the same 3 feet. So it's got the same proportional dig. You grab it, you go to where you put your first hole, and it literally just drops right in like a puzzle piece. It's amazing. It's kind of a pain to work with just because it's so much hydraulics, and there's about 10 different levers that you have to work with. But if you get it right, it's so simple to do. So anyways, that took me a little bit. I had to have a little bit of a learning curve. Got that taken care of on one of the courses that I work on. It's pretty exciting because that course it's pretty open. And over time I'll add more trees, but I was able to get a couple more in today. And then tomorrow we have in Kansas City here over in Bonner Springs area. So if you've ever been to Kansas City, Bonner Springs is the city up close to the Speedway, way up in the northwest corner of Kansas City. I have a new course going in, and the grand opening is tomorrow. It's at the Bonner North Park, but it's called Cedar Ridge Disc Golf Course. Pretty excited, pretty wooded, pretty technical. If you ever play any of my courses, you'll see that I like technical. I like to force you to throw a straight shot. Most people try to throw a straight shot in open holes, but when there's a lot of trees, the trees remind you did not throw it straight. So the kind of way I design the courses is to make it to where it forces you to throw a straight shot. And if you don't, you're going to know, and you're going to have to learn how to recover or learn how to throw straight. So this specific course, it's got some nice slight elevation to it, but it's not long. I mean, the course only measures at, I don't know officially, but I think somewhere around 4,500 feet. That's a pretty short course. Some of the holes are only 180 feet long, 1 or 2 of them, but it's only about a 20 to 30 foot fairway with a slight curve or slight downhill. So if you hit it perfectly, but you hit it high, you're just going to keep going. If you are off left or right, you're going to hit trees. So you almost have to learn how to throw it so it drops early. So it requires more of a finesse shot. So anyways, that grand opening is tomorrow. We're doing a 1-rounder out there from 2 to 6, but it was supposed to be just a PDGA 1-rounder. Well, they're calling for a ton of rain on Saturday, pretty much lightning nearly all day on Saturday. And so the city who was going to do their initial grand opening on Saturday with the giveaways and things like that have now merged it now with my 1-rounder now. So it's nice. Only reason I did the 1-rounder on Friday is because I have to go to Wichita, Kansas to run the Kansas State United States Amateur Match Play Championship, so I couldn't be there for the Saturday, but I wanted to create an SSA and create an event for the course. So that's why I did the 1-rounder. And I guess it's nice that they're merged on with me, and I get to meet the board of directors and the mayor. They'll come out and just to come see everybody, but I'll get to meet them. Some of them I've met, some of them I haven't. I haven't met the mayor, but just the directors and things like that, which all leads to networking, to new courses, new opportunities. And it's kind of got me to where I am today with courses, is by meeting all those specific people. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. So, all right. So what's been happening this week? So how you doing, Max? So playing any tournaments? Is it this weekend you were playing the one in California, or that you were saying, was it Max Nichols that plays that? Or I don't remember if you said Max Nichols or Peter McBride, but you were really excited about going to that. Was that last weekend or is that this coming weekend? It's kind of interesting as I've been doing the Trilogy talk or working in various Trilogy. Like I met Max at the Glassbone Open, and there's several people that come on now or come pass through Trilogy talk or various things that I do. And it's just kind of nice to put a face to the name. And so how did you do, Max, since it was last weekend? Oh, that was the San Francisco Open so how did you do? So I watched the San Francisco Open, quite a bit of the coverage. It was nice to see. One, it was back on YouTube from the Disc Golf Pro Tour, but it was nice to see. It was well received. It was well run. I had very little problems watching it. It was nice. It was probably the first tournament of the year that I got to watch live coverage without really too many hiccups. So Max, you did live scoring and spotting. So there's nothing wrong with that. Live scoring can be pretty intense. I've done live scoring a few times at some of the large tournaments when I'm done playing. A lot of times I do play at the MPO or MP40 level, but I'm always towards the bottom, so I always have plenty of time to go check out everybody who are teeing off early. But sometimes doing that live scoring, especially with the U-Disc, allows you to be able to be right there with the players. You're getting to see every shot because you're having to pay attention to every shot. So that can be a lot of fun. So, all right, so this week, it's that 6-week mark. Every 6 weeks, it seems like it happens, is rating time. So it's interesting to see what all the people do or say about ratings. It seems like every time ratings come out, it brings out the same people out of the woodwork who complain about the rating, complain about whether a tournament's been submitted. It's been submitted, but it's not getting credit for it. The rating should have went up, but it went down. All kinds of various things for ratings. Some people really enjoy them, some people really hate them, but it seems like that's about the time that you get all your haters and your believers really come out and they're public. For me personally, my rating dropped 3 points, which normally I would be sad about because I don't ever like anything to drop. However, I am at 937 rated, which means that if I can drop 2 more, no, I really don't want to drop 2 more. My joke is that if I drop 2 more, I am going to go play Amateur Masters. Instead of MP40, I'm going to play MA40. And out of all the years I've been playing, I've pretty much played every division that I've been eligible to play except AM Masters, because by the time I became Masters eligible, I was already pro classified, meaning I had already accepted cash and my rating was above the 935 mark, which is what the tour standards for AM Masters is for that pro classification. So I joke, is like, oh, if I ever get down low enough to be able to participate in MA40, I'm going to do it. Honestly, I don't know if I would or not. It might be kind of fun at the right level or right tournament just to do it. And that way I can say that I did. There's a lot of people here local that play MA40. That might be kind of fun to go play with them. That I've never gotten to play with them in a tournament level, but obviously, yes. Hopefully, I don't have to do that. Hopefully, I can get my butt in gear and figure out how to get that rating back up. I've had some bad rounds in there, but I was kind of surprised it dropped or even dropped that much just because I have had some good rounds in there. But apparently, I've had some really bad rounds to make it drop 3 points. So we'll see what happens. I don't even know. I'm trying to see what do I even have for tournaments next. How did your guys' rating do? You guys go up or down in rating? So I am looking up to see what is my next tournament. So I don't have a ton for you guys today, guys. I've got a few things on my agenda here that I'm going to talk about, but probably rambling a little bit more. I appreciate you guys being here. Upcoming events. My next tournament is the Professional Masters Championship, which is the last week of June. So I don't have anything for quite a while, it looks like. Riley's saying his rating right direction. I feel you, Riley. So when's your next tournament, Riley? So I will tell you a little off the beaten path is I am super excited about the Masters World Championships. I am flying up to Rochester, New York with a good friend of mine from Wisconsin. We're going to drive down to Vermont, to Smuggler's Notch, Vermont, and playing the Masters Worlds. We have a big Airbnb. It's pretty impressive. Just down the street from Smuggler's Notch, from my understanding, the property has a 6-hole disc golf course on it. It has a gazebo with hammocks on it, a lot of room. Johnny McRae is staying with us. A bunch of New York people I haven't met are staying with us. So I think it's going to be a really fun, exciting crowd that has nothing to do with even the tournament. And then, of course, the tournament, that's where Paige Bjerkes won last year. It's been known and very popular for many years as a place, a destination place. It's been voted. It's got some awards for various things for being just a top-notch resort. So, like I said, I'm pretty excited for that tournament coming up. But that's my next one. That'll be my next opportunity to try to get that rating up. Al is saying his rating is not going in the right direction either. What's up, Al? How you doing? Riley, the Mile High Experience. This will be the first year. Riley's saying he's going to the Mile High Experience. That's his next event. And this will be the first year that I've missed it. That, I believe, it's the weekend that I leave for Smuggler's Notch. I went to the AT&T ones. I went to Tennessee. Of course, here in Kansas City was nice since it's down the road. But I would have loved to have gone to it, and I didn't want to miss it. But I have to say, if I'm going to miss it for anything, Smuggler's Notch is what I'm missing it for. I've actually given up Smuggler's Notch the last couple years just because other things have come up, part of that being like Masters Worlds. The year before, I didn't go knowing that Worlds was in Smuggler's Notch last year, thinking because I was running Masters, I could go to Worlds. And then when I found out Masters Worlds was there this year, and with the busy year of me running Masters Worlds the previous year, that's a pretty confusing, complex set of questions or scenarios there. But anyways, I kept giving it up with the whole idea that I was going this year for Masters Worlds. I'm going to get it. And there's actually a couple things that are going on that week that I'm missing that I'm not super excited about missing, but I really don't want to miss it. Yeah, Max, like I said, I haven't been there yet, but everybody I've talked to has said Max is saying that he needs to get out to Vermont because it looks amazing. Yeah, it's a bucket list place. And this year, it's pretty exciting in general. So not only do I get to accomplish the bucket list of going to Smuggler's Notch, but then the Tim Selinsky U.S. Masters is at Maple Hill. So 2 years in a row, or 2 events in the same year, I get to cross off bucket list places. So for me next year, I was just looking at it the other day for 2020, for the Masters specific tournaments, Masters Worlds is in Tennessee, Johnson City, Tennessee, where the U.S. Women's was at, I believe, like 2 years ago. And then the Tim Selinsky U.S. Masters is in Columbia, Missouri. Now, the Columbia, Missouri, I am excited about because it's 90 minutes from me, so that's nice. And there's Harmony Bends, great courses. I don't know if I'm as excited about going to Tennessee or not. Got a hair in my eye, people. But I might go down there. I have a good friend in Nashville who doesn't live, I don't think, exceptionally far from there, so I might make it a double trip. Pro Worlds is in Utah though next year, and I don't know. Utah sounds pretty fun. Might have to go to that, or maybe I should stop traveling so much and playing all these tournaments. Just stick to the ones that are close by. So Riley's trying to get a schedule together to play Heritage Hills. Heritage Hills is one of my tournaments that I run here in Olathe, Kansas. It's kind of my baby. It's the one I spend a lot of time into. Come on, Riley, you got to make it happen. And Al's next tournament is my tournament at Bonner Springs tomorrow at Cedar Ridge, which is the course I was just talking about at the beginning of the episode with one of the new courses, short course, wooded course. So I'll be curious to see by the end of tomorrow, after all the people that come through, to tell me what they thought. One of the nice things about a course designer is it's great when everybody loves your course, but I also want to hear the things that they don't like so I can learn from it, maybe improve on that specific course. Like this course doesn't have T-pads yet. It'll take about a year before T-pads get put in. So I'm sure every person's going to come through and tell me about T-pads, but there's nothing we can do about that just yet. All right. So as always, if you have something that's specific that you want to ask or you'd like to hear me talk about or kind of interact through the board, feel free to ask. It could be virtually on anything Trilogy related or disc golf related, something trivia amongst each other. So, but the next topic I'm going to talk about are black aces. So for those who didn't see, so there was a black aces / what do we call an ace? Multiple shots for an ace. And we actually had a conversation during league, or not league, when I was playing out with some guys earlier this week about black aces. And for those who don't know, a black ace is when you throw off of your tee pad aiming for your basket, but you get a hole in. A couple of conversations we had is first, I'm going to split this into two topics. But one is if you throw a shot more than once off a tee and you get an ace, is it an ace? I mean, in a tournament competition, even a casual competition, if you're keeping score, typically if you throw more than one, in one, it's not your first one. Usually it's your first one that's you're going to write down on the scorecard or put on the app, not multiples. So, but out at the San Francisco Open, I was reading about Anthony Barella, who was doing some field practice and hit a 525-foot fairway ace. But it was multiple shots, so they were kind of talking about whether or not that would actually count as an ace. And my belief is no. As Max is saying, it's kind of generically coined the Cubby ace. There was a gentleman named Cubby who used to film tons and tons and tons of videos of him getting aces. But what he would do is he would throw it from the same pad multiple times, show the ace that he got, not all the multiple shots, but call it an ace. Well, the problem with calling an ace after multiple shots is that you learn to dial that in. You started learning the adjustments. You learn the lines. You learn the speed. So it's kind of an unfair advantage. Did it get in the basket in one shot? Yes. But was it your first shot? No. So an ace is a disc in the basket on your first shot. Max is on the board saying he was there at San Francisco Open for Anthony Barella's field ace. He even gave him $10 because it was awesome. That would have been pretty interesting to see. So, but anyway, so we were having this conversation about Barella, but also in other tournaments, especially when you're playing casually or if you have a league round. In a lot of cases, if you haven't, I don't know if you guys all play, different parts of the country play differently, but here we call it the 51 club, meaning that if someone gets an ace, you give them $5. If someone hits metal, meaning face mask or the face mask, the cage and higher, you give them $1. I don't think we give it for hitting the pole or the nickel, just for those two, but that's 51, 5 and 1. But if you get an ace, because you threw multiple shots, that typically is not paid. A lot of times it is on an honor system too, meaning that if I get an ace and you pay me, they're trusting that when they get an ace, I'm going to pay them. But yeah, so a lot of people question whether or not that should be an ace or not. I don't know. What do you guys think? Have you guys ever dealt with that situation to where someone gets an ace, but after a second shot or third shot or an adjustment? So, and then we've even had the conversation of, is it an ace if it's not a legitimate hole? And which I say it is an ace. If it's an established tee pad to a basket, it's on your first throw. It doesn't matter if that's the way the course was designed or not. If the tee box is made for some kind of legitimate purpose, like an ace race, an attempt hole, an additional hole, things like that, if it's established for the sake of playing, then it counts as an ace. If it's your first shot off the tee. Black aces, so that's a separate subject, and we were talking about black aces, and actually one of the guys on my card was, there was one guy in my card talking to another guy, and he was telling him that if you throw a black ace on a hole, that the guy who threw the ace has to take a penalty stroke. Not just the throw, but he actually take a penalty stroke for being in the other basket, which I was very specific. Like, no. It's just a bad shot. It's you play directly underneath the basket. The basket acts like a tree. It's in your way. That's your penalty enough. You don't get penalized. But the guy was very insistent on that. He read it. He even went as far as saying it's a PDGA rule, which the PDGA rules don't talk anything about black aces at all. But it was just kind of funny to hear that. I thought I would bring that story up. And we've also had the conversation when we're talking about it, is kind of talking about the 51 club is, when you get an ace, someone pays you $5. Well, if you get a black ace, that you have to pay them the $5 or the $1, which I've heard that for years, but I don't know that I've ever seen. I'm not sure if I've ever seen a black ace. I think I have, but I don't think, I don't even remember. So it's hard to say. All right. So I've got a couple little things, but they're small topics, only a couple minute things today. So talking about that same group, like I said, we talked about a variety of different things. But one of the other things we talked about was when you're playing casually and you have casual players who play with radios on or headphones on, but more specifically radios, where they'll play it out loud. And like we have a lot of local guys who play with radios, and a lot of times they'll say, hey, do you guys mind if I play the radio? And of course, I always joke, depends what kind of music you're going to play, which nobody ever understands that, but I like a lot of different music. But yeah, just people asking, and some people get very, very touchy about music. So one of the stories that we brought up is we had an event here a few months back, and there was a gentleman on the card, and I was actually filming the card, and he went to go throw, and the guy in the background had the radio on, and maybe he didn't ask at that time whether or not it was okay for him to play it. But the guy who was on the tee box just turned around, and in the most serious look, he was like, will you turn that effing radio off? And we're on hole 1. The round hasn't even started really yet. They're just getting ready to throw. And this guy was so just direct about what that radio should not be on. I mean, there was no niceness about it. There was nothing. It was just more of, turn it off now. I just thought that was funny. And I think it's funny on a lot of rules of different things, how people react to different things. Instead of saying nicely, hey, can you not smoke around me? Can you not have your headphones on me? Or can you at least turn it down when you're talking? Can you not stand on my peripheral? Can you not have music playing? Can you not move around when you're in my when I'm putting? Instead of asking nicely, there's so many times and opportunities as a tournament director, as a player, as a spectator, that I'll see people just react. And again, without saying anything nice, they just get mad. One of my earliest stories I remember is, and this might have been, I don't think it was my first tournament. It might have been my second, maybe even third tournament. But I was very new to the game, very much learning to play. And I went to putt, and I put my mini down, and the disc that I had threw, I just kind of set it behind, but I probably did toss it back like a foot behind me. I didn't turn around. I didn't throw it. I just kind of got it out of my way. And the moment I did it, this gentleman just goes, "Stroke," and started yelling at me about it. Again, I was so early in the game. I didn't know how to react. I didn't know the rules at that time. And again, I didn't do anything. All I did was set it back. But he implied it as if I was practice putting backwards. So I don't even know how that would work to this day and age. But the whole point was he didn't ask nicely. He didn't say anything to me to educate me. And he had been playing for years longer than I had at that time, and he still plays. And I'm actually pretty good friends with the guy now. But instead of asking nice, so again, kind of talking about the radio and talking about we were talking about aces or all the different things that pet peeves or annoyances that people have, or how do you respond to them? And some people respond in such a direct way, it pisses a lot of people off. So, all right, see what we got on the board here. Max is on the board. He's saying they have something called a brown ace. It's when your disc lands in a trash can. I have seen that before. I have never heard of it as a brown ace, and I can assume why it's called a brown ace in the trash, because it's covered in crap, I guess is what you would call for that. I've seen a disc go in the trash can. I don't think I've ever had a brown ace, but I have seen a brown ace. So, all right, Al's on the board, just comment. He doesn't worry about distractions. If he's not focused, it's not going to make a difference. And I'm probably a lot the same way, Al. It's when I get up to a hole or a tee box or a basket, once I kind of look at what I'm going to do, I don't see anything. I'm pretty focused. I've actually been hit with a disc with my card mates yelling at me to move, but I was so focused that I didn't hear it. But I guess I just kind of tune things out. I know there's distractions around me, but I do know there's people around us that the slightest little noise will throw them off. They need the quietest. And which is funny because the people who are the pickiest about that are also the ones I feel like have the largest intentions of wanting to be pro. And I often think is like, you really want to be this big player, a good player, and in this local C tier, you can't handle a little bit of noise. It's like, how are you going to handle it when you're at an NT or a Disc Golf Pro Tour event and there's galleries, there's spectators, there's cameras, there's all kinds of people around. You're definitely not stopping them during your round. So I feel like they have to learn. So Al, you and me both on not playing very well. So I agree. See, like I said, my rating went down too. All right. So one of the projects that I've been working on, and guess you guys can let me know. And even if you listen to this after the fact, feel free to go in there and comment and let me know, because I'm trying to decide how much I want to do. But as I've been creating these videos, I look at what kind of videos are out there and what kind of things do I want to make that'll make me stand out a little bit different. I like doing the Trilogy talk. I like doing my Instagram pictures. I create highlight videos. Like I said, I call it the Trilogy talk variety hour, variety show. I do a little bit of everything, but trying to find something that is useful to people. So one of the things I've actually been thinking about creating is TD 101. What I'm known for more than probably anything is being a tournament director. And I've been thinking about coming out with these series of videos that kind of break down all the different process. And maybe, I don't know how many segments it would be per se, but it would actually break down what I go through when I'm trying to run a good tournament. And I've run between world championships, a 300 and some person amateur only tournament. A lot of my tournaments are Phil. I mean, I feel like I know what I'm doing. So trying to use that experience or expertise to educate people, starting from even, how to start a tournament, naming a tournament, prepping for fundraising, sponsorship, course, permits, befores, afters, durings, but how to look at a tournament by not just running a basic tournament in a box that I call. It's more of how to think outside the box. A lot of times I run tournaments specifically for how I want tournaments to be. I don't like going to a tournament and the board is, I got to fill in my own scorecard as an example. I've been to many tournaments where they'll give you your scorecard blank, so you have to fill it in. Well, I don't want to fill it in as a player. So as a tournament director, I make sure it's filled in. I want to make sure there's water on the course, because when I'm a player and I don't have any water, I've ran out of water, it's annoying not to have any. Now, I also play the other side as a TD. I will say, and I usually say it in my emails before a tournament, especially in the hot part of summer, is go into that tournament as if I am not going to provide water. I always do provide water, but because I don't want you to dehydrate, I make sure you're prepared. But that's looking at both sides. Sometimes even naming a tournament. Not very many of my tournaments are generically named. Like it's not called the your favorite park open. Usually it's got a variety name. I mean, I have the Midwest Amateur Championships that I ran. That's kind of a little more generic, but a little bit more broad. I have my Heritage Hills tournament. I've been a part of Canyu Waiko. Paradise Diamond is the name of a tournament. What's Paradise Diamond have to do with anything? It is actually a story behind how Paradise Diamond came. Platypus Open, that means nothing to anything. It's just the tournament's called Lake Perry, or the course is Lake Perry. Phineas and Ferb, Perry the Platypus, Lake Perry, Perry Platypus. That's ultimately how it came, but it's fun. It's a tournament that I can create, and I can create a hot stamp and a logo and around a platypus. It's fun. It has nothing to do with anything. It's just fun. So, anyways, a segment, on that. Thinking about a logo that you have, a logo that just doesn't have to be, you want something you can use on multiple things. So anyways, it's wide variety. I can probably think of about 10 different segments or different things to do, but that's something I've been kind of thinking about, and I don't know. So let me know what you think. If you think that would be useful information to either you as an individual, you as an inspiring TD, you as a TD. Sometimes that information might even just help educate you on how a TD thinks. So you can go into a tournament with a better understanding of why things are done a certain way, or how things are done a certain way. But also for you to determine, is the tournament director just being lazy? Stuff you may have never even thought of that's part of that tournament process, such as course preparation, letting people know what the course layout's going to be the week before, not just for a tournament director to show up to a course and say, this is the course we're playing. You start to kind of build those. I usually say, as a tournament director, I am probably the worst critic. I love playing tournaments, but sometimes it's hard for me to play other people's tournaments when it's very apparent to me they did very, very basic, or like I said, what you call that tournament in a box. And just for me to explain, a tournament in a box to me is when you did the most simple, basic thing. You basically said, I'm going to run a tournament. Here's the registration. Show up. I showed up. Here's the tournament. Here's the payout. Submit the report. It's done. It's very basic. It's very routine. There was no thought into players packages, no thought into design, no thought into how to make the course better, more challenging, what amenities that are going to be on there, what kind of trophies, or am I going to do just a basic trophy, or am I going to try to be creative on the trophy? Are we doing anything for signage, again, water, announcements? I mean, there's so many different things. So even if you're not interested in being a TD, it might tell you what TDs think about and whether they're doing what they're supposed to be. So what's up, Brad? How you doing? I see you on the board. So Brett is on the board, and he's talking about what I'm just talking about with TD 101, and he kind of says something that strikes home to me a little bit. But he says someone who doesn't think they're good enough to move up but still wants to contribute, it's something he wants to get into, and he's referencing being a tournament director. And when I first started, so I've been tournament directing since probably about 1998. I think I'm somewhere up about 140 PDGA events is what I was told the last time, not counting unsanctioned and fun little one-rounders or things like that. But I've been playing for a long time. And even when I used to think I was good, I never thought I would be great. And one of the biggest reasons I created tournaments is because I wanted something run the way I want it to be, just like I had just said. And that's kind of where you can put your mark on it. There's a lot of tournament directors out there, and I'm not saying necessarily that I'm a good tournament director, but I think there's a lack of good tournament directors that are out there. I think a lot of people run tournaments because they think I can make some quick money. And money is not an easy thing to make on a tournament. Every tournament can make money if you know how to do it and you're doing it proper. But a lot of people think, because they'll look at, you get these entry fees and they're looking more specifically like at the AM section. Pros, there's nothing to be made because 100% of the pros, if anything, you're going to lose on the pros unless you're smart enough to fundraise to compensate what you're going to lose on the pros. But on the AM side, if you say you take $1,000 in entry fees on the AMs, or you take out X amount, but after all the fees come out, there's $1,000 in payout to the AMs. So that goes to vouchers. Well, if you say an average disc has a 40% markup, and that's assuming the individuals vending for themselves, yes, they are making 40% on that. So they'd make $400 on that 1,000. If they have no other expenses, if they've figured out how to financially, whether it comes from entry fees, fundraising, sponsorship, T-signs, if everything is covered by the time that $1,000 goes out, they made $400. That's not bad. It's a pretty good day's work, a good weekend's work, if you're that good with it. Now, most people are not working that hard to put all of that stuff together in order to offset a lot of those costs. And that's, again, a C tier. So now some of the examples is, say you have a B tier. Well, B tier requires $750 added cash to the pros. So which means right away, you either have to figure out how to fundraise for those pros, because you can't take any money from any place else in entry fees for the pro $750. For pro pays $50 and there's 10 pros, they're going to get $50. And we're going to say hypothetically that $50 is with all the fees that are out. They're going to get $500 plus an additional $750. That $750 can't come, like I said, doesn't come from the tournaments. It doesn't come from directly from the AMs. It's got to come from either fundraising or that hypothetical situation where I just said, where if they were paying 40% on $1,000, that $400. So that's not coming from the AMs. That's the tournament director's portion of what profit they made from those AM payouts. But then they'll have to take that $400 applied to that $750, which means they're still $350 short. So that might be the difference between why someone is running a B tier and a C tier. But again, those are all the little videos and different things. I think, Brett, there's a lot you can learn. Just kind of be your own person. What's up, Russell? I was at a big bowl all day today. I even planted a couple of trees on hole 1. So you ought to come out to Cedar Ridge tomorrow with the family from 2 to 6. Come check out the new course out at Bonner Springs. Little plug for those who don't live in the Kansas City area. So, all right, guys. So unless anybody's got anything for me today, we're going to cut this one a little bit shorter. I don't really have too much more to talk about. However, last thing we're going to talk about is last week we got a disc sponsor, Gauntlet Discs, out of Nebraska. Ben Langley is the owner of that. He's co-ownered with somebody else that I don't know who that person is, but I know Ben, and Ben donated this disc. It is a Burst TP King, 172 grams from Bent Gauntlet. So, and this goes to one of our Patreon supporters. If you would like to be included into this, go to patreon.com/Trilogy Talk. Every week we do a drawing, and for as little as $1 a month to help me support all the stuff that I do with Trilogy Talk, it'll get you put into the drawing. So again, for a minimum of $1 a month, you get 4 opportunities a month to win something cool like this for free. So let's see. So we're going over here. We're going to go to random.org. And I will tell you the odds are pretty good right now, too, because there's only 7 people that so far do the support. So really 1 in 7. If you're the next one to join, 1 in 8. So we're going to do 1, max is 7. I'm going to generate once without looking. Then I'm going to generate again. And that's who I got was number 2. And number 2 on my order is, if he is still on the board, Max Garcia. It's actually the second time Max has won. So super awesome. See, like I said, those odds are pretty good right now because there's only 7 people. So Max, if you're still on, send me your address. I think I already have it, but just send it to me to make sure. And I will probably try to get this out to you sometime tomorrow. So good job there. But I appreciate you guys coming on. I appreciate all the support. As always, keep sharing the Trilogy love with the world. We'll see you guys next time.